All right, today's date, or this morning, barely put together. I'm not even put together yet. I guess it's noon. Time flies. January 21st, 2024. We're bringing forward James P. Brown. James P. Brown wanted to come forward to tell more of his story. I think in all fairness, we need to get his side of the story too, because there's always his side, her side, and then the truth is somewhere in the middle, typically. I don't condone the violence if that truly happened. Sorry, sitting on weird. All right. I want to get his side of the story, if that's even possible. The thing of it is, and one thing I wanted to show this recording and whoever is watching is that I do feel James P. is earthbound. And, it makes sense. I mean, if he truly was a drunk, and he was full of anger, whatever reason, he's probably not going to move on. So it sort of makes sense. So I feel like his spirit and Hester's spirit are both earthbound. Um, I want to interview him prior to moving energy and after moving energy, and let's see what this does to see what differences there are. My phone's blowing up, and it's Sunday. Good Lord. Busy, busy bee. Hold on just a second. Okay, so this recording is going to be tuned into James P. We're going to ask a few questions, test where we are with him. We're going to do an energy cleanse and clear because he's earthbound. He needs to be released. Now, the reason for this is when he's coming to me from his position of earthbound, he's being held down by his own negative energies. And that's true with any quote ghost. They're being held by their own negative stuff. They can move on at any time. They just have to recognize it. But when you're so caught up in your own stuff, it's very hard to see outside of your own pain and agony. So we're going to treat it just like we would treat anybody who is suffering. Now, once I get his energy cleared and cleansed, then we're going to come back and retest some of those questions. It'll be interesting to see what changes. But right now, if I ask him questions like, did you rape Sarah Mock? He's telling me no. Well, he's not even telling me that. He's just saying, he's not telling me anything. He's just like straight. Correction. It just goes straight. Now, if he were on the area where he needs to be, he would say, yes, I regretted, blah, blah, blah. But he's apparently not done any of that, which he's avoiding his own stuff. So let's get right into it. Here we go. We'll do a few testing questions. James P. Brown, are you here in our divine room? And Victor Edwinson, are you here too? Are the guardian angels surrounding us for full protection against all non-physical energies that would do us harm, trick us? Okay, so we are clear to go with questions. All right, James P. Brown, do you want to tell us your side of the story? Yes. Are you ready to tell us the full truth of everything that happened? Are you prepared to tell us the full truth of what happened? Now you notice it just stopped. James P. Brown, are you earthbound? So yes, he is earthbound. Are you at peace? So no, he's not at peace. James P. Brown, can you tell us, or do you know if your remains are buried at Mount Zion Cemetery? They are buried at Mount Zion Cemetery. Is there a stone that marks your grave? No. Does that upset you that your grave is unmarked? Yes. Is that part of the reason why you're earthbound? Part of the reason? Yes. So is that the entire reason you're earthbound? No. So from your realm that you've entered, are you angry that your grave was left unmarked? Now, do you know where in Mount Zion Cemetery you're buried? If I go into the gate, I'm walking into the gate, do I go straight back and to the left to find your grave? Do I go straight back and to the right? Yes. Do you want us to put your name on your grave? Would that give you peace? Yes. Who decided to neglect your grave? Can you tell me? Was it all of them? Was it your entire family? Were you misunderstood? You were misunderstood at the end. Did you die in Marion County? Is Lewis your son? Is Lewis Mary Pickle's son? Is Lewis Mary Pickle's son? Is Lewis the son of Sarah Mock? Did you attack Sarah Mock against her will? Did Sarah Mock's husband come and beat you up for attacking his wife? Did the community know that you attacked Sarah Mock? Were you handed Lewis Brown to raise? You were handed Lewis Brown to raise. Can you tell me where they handed you Lewis Brown? Was he an infant, newly born? Did they hand, did a male person hand you Lewis while you were at church? Were you at church when they handed you the baby? And did you confess to the church that he was your son at that time? Did everybody know he was your son? Did you acknowledge he was your son in church? All right, so you can see he's not willing to talk about this. He's not even giving us a no, he's not giving us a yes. It just stops. All right, so here's what we're going to do. It's interesting to me, one, from the work I do, that when an earthbound spirit is here, it's like talking to somebody here. It's just like, I don't want to tell you my deepest, darkest secret. But when a soul completely transfers over fully, then they are able to come back and say, yep, I did that. I learned in my life review what a, screwed up mess I was. And I actually saw through the other person's eyes and felt what they felt when I was giving them my crap. And so anything that I've ever done wrong to somebody, when I cross over, hopefully I'll cross over and move forward like I'm supposed to. When I have my life review, I'm going to see the effects of how other people felt on the receiving end of me. And that's true with all of us. He refuses to go there. He does not want to acknowledge that. So he's just kind of like, I'll just stay put. I got my own story. That's what I'm saying. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. Or in this case, you don't need to know that, right? So let's clean up his energy and see if those questions change. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this because it's going to be long and boring for y'all to watch that. So we'll just pause it now. Okay, so I went ahead and we cleared and cleansed his energy and filled him up with all good stuff. And hopefully his soul is feeling lighter. it was interesting when I worked on him how it feels a little bit different working on pure essence energy versus working on the heavy dense meat suit. So that was interesting and new to me. Just kind of want to make note of that. Let's go ahead and check and see what our questions reveal now. Is James P. Brown still in our divine space? James P. Brown. All right. Are you ready to answer all questions in truth? Thank you. Is Lewis Brown your son? Is he the son of Sarah Mock? Were you married to Sarah Mock? Was Sarah Mock married to somebody else? Was she married to Job Mock? Did you attack Sarah Mock? Did you rape Sarah Mock? Did somebody hand you Lewis in a church from Sarah Mock after she gave birth? Did you marry Mary Pickle to give Lewis a caretaker? Interesting. So now he is confessing. Were you kind to Hester Ann Helms? After you attacked Sarah, first of all, were you drunk when you did? Did you collapse in front of your home after attacking her and basically pass out from being drunk? Did you have any memory of raping Sarah? So you had no memory of raping Sarah. Okay. Did Sarah's husband come to you while you were passed out in front of your home? And did he come with two other people? So there were three men. And did he beat you so badly that he probably could have killed you at that point? Do you remember the attack? Were you so drunk you didn't even know you were being attacked? And you came to just kind of briefly, but everything was a blur. Okay, and did the two guys he came with pull Sarah's husband off of you and say, "Don't kill him or you will be hanged"? Okay, so those other two guys took him away. Now, were you able, the community knows that you raped Sarah. Did Sarah make a point in the church to hand you the son? Did Sarah consider Lewis the devil's spawn? Did she ever see Lewis after she gave birth? Did she ever see Lewis? Okay, so did her and her husband move to Missouri for a fresh start? It's interesting. As this energy, I don't feel what's interesting on my end is when I'm tuning into him before energy clearing and after energy clearing. The energy flows so much smoother. I don't feel like I'm trying to pull a tooth out of the head, like, come on, let's get this energy going. What I'm feeling is has a complete flow of energy. It's really an interesting change for me. So let's go back in and see if we can get some more information from him. Now, James P. Brown, is your middle name Porter for Your mother, Ann Porter. Did the man that raised you, was it Andrew Henderson? Did Andrew Henderson die at your farm? Was your son Henderson Brown around the age of 19 when Andrew Henderson died? Did Andrew Henderson, was he buried at Mount Zion Cemetery? Was Andrew Henderson buried on your farm? He was buried on your farm. Has his grave ever been located, Dad? Victor Edwinson, has Andrew Henderson's grave ever been found? Is his grave in a neighborhood? Okay, I felt like yesterday, Andrew Henderson's grave was like under a layer of dirt, but what was confusing to me, why wasn't it found? But what I'm getting right now is Andrew Henderson, Dad, can you tell me, can you and James P. work together, point to where the grave is? And the image I'm getting in my head now is that he's buried under a street. Because the thing that didn't make sense to me is if somebody's digging a foundation or a basement, they're going to find a grave. But if they're throwing in a street, they're not going to go deep enough to find a grave. And over time, did you place a marker on his grave? Did it have writing on it, or did it just have like just a wooden cross that eventually just decayed, and after you died, nobody knew he was there? And so Andrew Henderson is under a street in a neighborhood. Interesting. Okay, well, thank you for that clarification. That helps. All right. Is there any record, Dad, of a man named Andrew Henderson that we would find today? So we're not going to find any record of him, even in the peripheral sense. Kind of get maybe. All right, that's fair enough. It's probably very peripheral. Sorry, my phone, it just keeps blowing up. This time it was from Sam. I'm getting lots of messages from Sam. All right, so James P. Brown, are you feeling liberated? Were you considered a drunk? Were you in love at first with Hester? Did you put Lester out of the house? Did you lock her out of your home 4 times? Was it dark and rainy each time you put her out? Do you feel she was crazy and deserved it at this time where you are now? At the time and in the space you were in, were you drunk when you put her out and locked her out in the rain? Did you file for divorce from Hester? No. Did you go to Hester's father and tell Hester's father that Hester is crazy and a danger to the children and that he needed to come and get her? Yes. When Henderson Brown was between 5 and 7 years old, or 7 and 8, somewhere when he was young, say between 5 and 8 years old, did you shove Hester Ann Helms out the door in a drunken rage when you were in a drunken rage? Did you lock her out? Was it raining? Did your son Henderson try to stop you? And did Henderson let his mother back in? And did you at that time remember those actions when you woke up? So you are definitely blacking out with no memory of being unkind or violent. All right, so this is coming in as complete truth. When he would get so drunk, he would have no memory of his actions during the time he was really drunk. All right. Did you cause Hester to fall in a drunken rage that caused her to hit her head? Did you break her arm? Did her arm heal properly? Was it her left arm? Was it her right arm? So yes, it was her right arm. Was she able to function with her right arm? Was her right arm, did it ever function properly again? Did she try to make you feel guilty for that? Okay, that's good. Did you ever feel guilty for causing physical harm to Hester? At that time, were you justifying it and saying she deserved it, she was crazy? Do you justify it now as being appropriate behavior toward your wife? Did you talk bad about Hester to make sure everybody was on your side? And did you use her sister Mary Ann as a leverage to convince everybody that your story was true about Hester being crazy? Did you intentionally divide Elizabeth from Hester? Did you feel that Hester was confiding too much into Elizabeth and that threatened you at the time? Did you go to your brother-in-law, Elizabeth's husband, and point out land was available elsewhere and they needed to go? So this is all yes. Was your father, James Brown, that was killed with his father, James Brown, at Nickajack, Tennessee? Yes. Was your grandmother Jane Gillespie Brown? And was your great grandmother Margaret Brown? Now, I feel like you're giving me a new image that I have not known before. Did you ever meet Margaret Brown? So you met your great grandmother. Did Andrew Henderson take you to meet Margaret Brown? So you met Margaret Brown. Did you ever meet your grandmother Jane Gillespie Brown? Did you ever meet her? You never met Jane Gillespie Brown, but you did meet Margaret before she died. And can you tell me about how old were you when Margaret died? Can you tell me that? One. Were you around 19 years old when Margaret died? Okay, well, sister, that'll be interesting. I mean, that's something that we can look at if that even makes any sense. I'm gonna find out. So now I'm curious. Hold on. Okay. We got within a good window with that. So I just looked it up. I have him saying it was around 1806, but she died around 1801. So that's close enough. I mean, when we're dealing with energy, because it was floating there, 17, 18, 19. So, and I landed on 19. So he's giving me 19, 18, 19. Do we have the age of his birth wrong? That could possibly too, but the window I feel is right. Let me ask this. James P. Brown, can you give me the year you were born? 1, 7, 8. He's giving me 17, between 1785 and 1786. He's falling more to 1786 he was born. He keeps going between 1785 and 1786. So we have him down at 1787. So that is a possibility that would put him about 19 years old. That's interesting. That's interesting. That would also explain why he was around 3 years old. So maybe his mom had just gotten to her parents and yeah, and then that event took place. But this Henderson, Andrew Henderson, he was moving around, moving around. I mean, every time I tune into that, moving around. So, but he grew quite fond of Andrew from James Porter. All right. James P. Brown. We have written down that your birth year was 1787 as James P. And you're telling us no. Okay. Is your birth year 1780? Is it sooner? Is it before 1787? Okay. Were you born in 1786? Were you born in 1786? 1785? So right there between 1785, 1786, kind of more towards. So he's kind of going right down the middle. So somewhere in that area. And honestly, he may not have known. It's not like, if there was a family Bible there and somebody knew how to read and write, they could potentially record it. Was his birth recorded? That's the next question I have. James P., was your birth recorded in a family Bible? Okay, it was. Was it recorded in the Porter family Bible? Okay, so Dad, can you tell me, does that family Bible exist today where James P.'s birth is recorded? And is that family Bible made public? Okay, so it is a Porter family Bible, but not one that is public. And does that, and is his name, James P., appear in the family Bible that is in private collection? And it records the year he was born. Dad, can you tell me, can you read that family Bible from where you are, from the infinite computer. Okay, go ahead. Give me the year, Dad, that James P. Brown was born. You can do that because you can see it from your perspective. Dad's energy come through and give us that. Let's see me. Okay, 1/17/85. So it's like at the end of the year, the end of 1785. So maybe January, December, January. Is that correct? All right. So he's at the end of 1785, the beginning of 1786 is what I'm being shown. And Dad, is this correct? So at the end of December, beginning of January. Is there an error in the record? Is there a slight error in the birth time? All right. So what is recorded is not 100%. Is it 100% accurate? All right. So it's close enough. It's within a short period. It's like within a month. It's like within a month. So it's not that big a deal. Okay. Hold on. All right. So he was. So James P. Brown. I don't know why I keep doing that. Don't mean to make you dizzy. Sorry. All right, James P. Brown, can you tell me how old were you when your father and your grandfather were killed at Nickajack? Can you give me an age? So, two, you were 2 years old when your father was killed and your grandfather was killed at Nickajack. Can you tell me, James P., do you have any idea? Well, let me ask this to Dad. Let me go to Dad. Victor Edwin's in. Step forward, please. James P. Brown, how old was his father the day he was born? How old was James Brown, James P. Brown's father, the day he was born? 1. Was he 19 years old? Was James, his father of James P., 19 years old the day James P. was born? He was 19. All right, thank you, Dad. Can you tell me how old was Ann Porter Brown the day her son James P. Brown was born? Make it a strong swing, please, so we can show the camera. Thank you. 1. Okay, so she was also 19 years old. They're the same age? So yes, they're the same age. And where were they? Dad, can you show me? Can you give me the state in which James P. Brown was born on today's map? And just give it into the 2-letter abbreviated state. So he was born in North Carolina. Is that on today's map? So James P. Brown was born in North Carolina. And it would be North Carolina on today's map as well. Did Ann Porter go with James, her husband, to the Nashville area of Tennessee to help lay out cabins and build it for the rest of the family to join them? Okay, so I feel like there's a member of her family coming too. Is that correct? Was What's confusing to me is the time. There seems to be the time is weird. It's not what we think it is. So there's a different timing. There's more movement going on than what we're giving credit. All right. Did Anne go to Central Tennessee with James Brown after her son James P. was born? So it was James, her husband. Did he go with his father, James, the first one, and his older brother to help lay out cabins and clear land on the land grant? And then did James go back with his father to North Carolina? And then he and Anne got together. Did Anne get pregnant before they got married? So Anne got pregnant before they got married, so they had to get married. And then he took her back out. Okay, so James P. Brown, he went back. Okay, so the timeline, this is what I'm getting. And I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if we talked about it. I don't know. This is what I'm getting. I feel like James and the older brothers went out. This part I do know, and they set up housekeeping, clearing land, building cabins, getting ready for Jane and the crew to come out. And he was too young to get married then. I feel like when he started out. But when he came back, he got together with Anne. They did the horizontal bebop, forced to get married. I think it was an okay. I think they liked each other. I don't think it was like ick. It was just like, okay, cool. People got married. I mean, it just happened. I feel like they were definitely married before he was born. But I feel like Anne and James went back out to Davidson County, Central Nashville area, while James the First stayed back. I feel like I can't breathe. There's something wrong here with James 1. He's not well. I don't know what he's not well with, but I'm having trouble breathing. So that tells me he's probably got some flu virus, pneumonia, bronchial, who knows. They go back and they continue to build out this settlement that they're all agreeing to build out. And then word is sent that James is now going to be bringing Jane and the family out. Decision is made to come to the waterway because it's easier travel because he's not having to pull apart the wagon. So they're showing me that the wagon, and I was shown this before. How do you get over all these? I mean, to go the older way, to go the land way, they have so much stuff that they're bringing. Um, it would require like 3, 4 wagons full of stuff, and to just move that, even the land route was treacherous, dangerous, but it's safer from the Indian standpoint. But they would have to pull the wagons apart, move not only each individual item, but also the wagon pieces when the terrain gets way too rough. And that was going to slow them down, and it's going to put them into winter because I feel really, really, really cold. Winter before they would arrive if he took that route. So he decided, even though it's more dangerous, to go the water route. He can transfer his stuff without pulling everything apart. Everybody can get on a boat. It's going to be difficult, but not as difficult. It's going to be much easier, but it's way more dangerous. And so this is why he's bringing on, I hear gentry, bringing in gentry. I think there's a gentry involved in all of this. In fact, I'm pretty sure of that because I remember seeing that. There is a gentry involved in this story, and he's a marksman. So I think the people he brings on are marksmen. I think that's their role because he's figuring that if he's out in the river, you can see somebody coming or standing on the banks. So you have time to load and fire. And he has more than one cannon mounted. There's like a cannon on the front, cannon on the back. I feel like there's a cannon on top. No, I think there's 2 cannons. Are there 2 big guns on the boat? Yes. Is there more than 2? No. So there's definitely 2, one on the front, one on the back. And they've got marksmen. I think there are either 3 or 4. They're really good marksmen. So if they can see somebody coming, if there's danger, they get ready. And if James gives the order to fire, they'll fire. They're ready to go. So he's got his 2 cannons, he's got his 3 or 4 marksmen. So he's feeling pretty confident that he can get his family through an area that's really kind of treacherous in case they're attacked. And then again, it is just like the story said, the imagery that I'm getting, that this Indian group comes up, they're acting like they're friendly, they want to trade, but he didn't trust it. He has a sword out and he's ready to defend his family. But at the same time, he does not want to let him on the boat. It's like, I don't want to let him on the boat. And I feel like there's conversation going, if you don't let him on the boat, it's going to get ugly because then they're going to take it as an offense. And then they're going to, you don't want to basically, I hate the word, trigger them, but it's going to ignite into something ugly. I feel like James 1 had no choice. He had to let him on, even though he knew it was a ruse. But he also told him, get ready. We have to fight these. We have to fight to get through. They're not friendly. I just feel it in my bones. But in this kerfuffling, the bad guys won in that case. And this is a story that gets handed down. So we're going to be tuning in to the rest of the stories later. I do find it interesting. We probably do have a slight error on the birth date, and it would make sense that he was between 18 and 19 years old when Margaret died, because she died in 1801. That's a known fact. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this for now. This is long enough. It gives you enough more of a tidbit to kind of flavor up the story a little bit. And I will tune in later to answer any questions you might have. All right, enough for now. Hopefully I'll look better the next time so I don't scare you all. Oh well, it is what it is.